are taking photographs, people are tweeting about it, people are putting it on the Facebook, people are text messaging it, people are taking a video shooting out of it and spreading everything across. The research says that every first day of every child coming in this world generates 70 times more data than what we have in a National Congress library in USA. Isn't that immense? We'll come how it culminates into a huge amount of revenue and a business proposition, but that is a fact. 70 times of the data which is captured in a Congress library in USA. And the babycenter.com from USA, a big portal on babies, it also says that every child in USA exists online in prenatal state. That you can see is she has put her sonogram as her profile picture. One of my friend actually put a whole video of a sonography onto a Facebook so that everybody can see and celebrate the newcomer in the family. So that is what is happening. So this is nothing but this is a big data. This is what we are calling big data today. So what is it? Big data is everywhere. It is everywhere. I mean, I'll just put you in a perspective. We have 1.2 zettabytes of online data, and research says that it is going to be 50 times more, 50 times larger by the time we reach end of this decade. That is 2020. So 1.2 zettabytes of data today, 50 times more larger data than what kind of opportunity that we are seeing there. So that is what I just want to sensitize you. So what has resulted into this big data is the social and economical changes that we are going through. So for example, everybody has got handsets, everybody has got smart devices, and we have come to the tipping point in the history actually where the big data generated by the devices like GPS systems, by mobile phones, by every sensor that is installed. Of course, in Indian scenario, it doesn't relate directly because we don't have too much of the sensors attached in our family or in our homes today, but that is a different case across the world. There are so many sensors attached to each and every small thing of your life, and that is generating immense amount of data. We have a different economic perspective to see when we are talking about a big data. So let's demystify what big data is. I mean, some of the speakers have all different region altogether. Then time changed. Lots of changes, lots of developments happened on the healthcare industry. Lots of new technologies introduced in terms of scanning and X-rays, etc. We started having doctors talking across the regions, and they had a very high-res images of the healthcare for ranging about 1 terabyte in the size. But doctors couldn't share that information on the net to talk on or to discuss on various cases. Is that possible today? Yes, to some extent. 40 MB, which was not possible 10 years back, today it is possible. 1 terabyte of data share on the high-res healthcare images, which was not possible 5 years back, which is, we are seeing a signs of it being coming into the existence today. Whole media changed this perspective from 2D to 3D, and now you see every next film which is coming from Hollywood is coming in a 3D format. Even Indian films are coming into the 3D format. We have a 1 terabyte of 3D movie to be rendered, and a producer tells a studio guy that please keep it rendered overnight and I want to see the 3D film tomorrow morning, and it sizes about 1 terabyte. He will just faint. That is not possible to do this kind of a rendering overnight for 1 terabyte of data. So what are we talking about? I mean, we are constantly changing our scenarios in terms of what is possible through the processing power, what is possible through communication power, what is possible through storage power. So scenes are changing, data is increasing. Data was always sharing this kind of on these 3 parameters was always a challenge. It is also a challenge today, And now we are discussing about the big data. So it doesn't mean big data did not exist 10 years back. It always exists, just that we have started realizing the importance of this big data. So having this in perspective, what we see here, we have seen this multiple times earlier, is what we see is the volume of the data, which we are talking about is like huge amount of data continuously getting generated, which we need to analyze. The velocity of the data. What we mean velocity as earlier we have seen very aptly that traffic is coming towards you. What do? It's a real-time data, as I shared in the morning, that there are cars in Israel which are transmitting data on the run, running at 120 kilometers per hour. It is sending an information. The analytical server will have to actually pick information from multiple sources, from electricity companies, from the sensor data, and from the GPS devices, and take a real-time decision whether the car can be charged to next charging station or not. If the power load is too much on the grid, it will not be possible to charge it because it will pull down the whole grid in next charging station. So it has to take an intelligent decision where the next charging station would be for that particular car. So that is a velocity we are talking about in terms of analytical power that we have to have on this kind of data coming in at real great speed. And of course, the most important part, as we are progressing with the technology, the variety of data that we are receiving. And variety of data that we are receiving and getting stored in its native form. When we say the type of data that we have is here, we are of course a big chunk of data we are capturing through our transactional system, OLTP systems, which is very much structured. What we know that we wanted to capture a particular set of data, it will have certain fields, it will have some characters, it will have some numeric values, it will have any kind of some kind of a format of that data, which we have defined and which we know that it is continue coming in a certain way only. But what about with this kind of a new era that we are into, with rich media we are living with, a huge amount of songs, audio files, text messages which are sent which is completely unstructured, a huge amount of talk audio files that we have, that is also now capturing a huge portion of data which is getting captured into some or other system there and has got a huge economical value in it. So this is about the big data. I mean, what we have to have in our mind is it is a combination of these three variables, and not just because of the size. We are saying big data is a big data. Big data is immense information, high potential information because of these three parameters put together. So, oops. Yeah. What we see here, as I said, the velocity of the data, it's the information which is in motion, and the huge amount of digital footprint we are leaving behind, or a huge amount of digital exhaust that we are emitting. We have, if we go on a Facebook, we keep uploading various type of data. It's not just the photographs, it's not just the text. Lot more newer way of media is getting uploaded onto Facebook, or to Twitters, or to your blogs, or websites, or through emails. So this kind of information which is in motion, making a huge sense, and we have to be geared for that kind of a velocity to make the business case that why we should look at big data and create a value out of it. Just coming back to the example which I shared, that we had a new entrant in our family. The moment I emailed it to my brother, the next day when I logged into my Google account, I started seeing ads coming from firstcry.com, Pampers, and various other Fisher Price and various other providers of solutions in terms of the baby care. So that is the big data we are talking about. So that is a value which big data holds, that services are mine, but data is yours, and I'll have a complete control on your data. So that is how the whole media world is taking and looking at the data which we are generating, and that is the reason I named my presentation here as Big Data, You and Me via Media. That we knowingly, unknowingly actually emitting so much of information that somebody is actually making a good use of that information and making a huge business sense for it. So let's take a kind of a velocity that we are talking about here. If you see on the upper part, the YouTube is generating or getting populated with 48 hours of the video content every minute, every day. A huge data inflow coming into YouTube. How does it mean? What does it mean? And how does it mean a value to it? We'll just see in a later part of the presentation. 34,000 plus like buttons are hit by individuals like you and me on the Facebook for various brands